Aaron and I are in the midst of probably the most depressing aspect of this entire project yet, and that is taking off these hard-fought cedar planks and replacing them with oak. But trying to look on the bright side, it's giving us a little bit of an idea what it would be like to take these rivets out down the road and fix or replace a plank or something. So we've been learning a little bit. What we found is taking a grinder to them is less than ideal because the copper heats up really, really fast, even with a very thin cutoff wheel, and it burns the frames a little bit. And what we found so far to work the best is to take a punch and just put a little dent in the top of it, and then take a nice sharp drill bit and just drill out the head of the rivet. The copper's soft and drills pretty easy. And then we can take these horseshoe nippers and nip off any oddball pieces that are left, pop the rove off, clean it up, and then take a bigger punch and just pound them out, grab them with a crowbar on the backside and haul them out. So that's how rivet removal is gone. A little time consuming, but it's pretty simple, and it's good to know if we got to do it down the road that it's going to be a pretty manageable task. So Aaron and I are just going to see about nipping the rest of these off and knocking them out and seeing if we can get these planks off today and start making some patterns for the new ones. Yesterday was probably one of the low points for the project so far. Aaron and I pulled off these 3 cedar planks here on either side of the boat, and man, that was a real bummer. I knew that there would come a time when I'd probably replace some planks on the boat. I never imagined in my wildest dreams it would be before she even launched. But although a very painful decision, I think it's the better decision. So we're gonna go dig through the oak pile today and see if we can find the stock for the first curvy cedars that go over the steelers in the stern. And then we're gonna mark out as much planking stock as we find as we start to go through the pile and see if we have enough oak in there to get us up to the waterline or not. If it seems like we're gonna be a bit shy, we got some logs down in the wood yard that we can slice and dice. And Jack, who is here helping with the planking party, he's also got a few white oak logs. So we want to kind of see how much we have and see if we've got enough milled up and ready to go on hand to get above the water line. And if we do, then we'll charge ahead. And if not, we'll have to see about doing a little bit of sawing and getting those logs so that they can dry a little bit more while we work on the rest of the oak planking. The nice thing is that we've got patterns for them, so that should go fairly quickly. And if we have any questions, we can just bring these out and lay it down on there and see exactly what we need to get out of them and what we need to do. So replacing them should hopefully go a bit faster than putting on the cedars to begin with. And I think that the oak is just gonna flow right onto the boat. I think it's gonna go on easier than the cedar, but we'll find out soon enough. All right, my first step here is just gonna be to pull some rough measurements so that we don't have to take this pattern out, or this whole plank outside, and try to lay out the boards on it. I just want to kind of figure out, all right, we need a length that's roughly this long with the nib at this spot for the stern. We need yay amount of width for the middle, and same thing at the stem. And we'll go find a few likely candidates, get them laid out in some sawhorses, and then we can bring this out and actually start to play with them. But the first step's just the rough idea. Stuff is so tough. I gotta say, the oak is much heavier than the cedar, but man, visit nicer stock. So Aaron and I spent the whole morning here digging through the oak pile. We took the opportunity to go through some of the earlier stuff that we milled that's been stacked for a long time. It was maybe not the greatest of stock, but since we're dropping down to narrower planks and we're only needing 3 inches for width, I mean, we can dodge a lot of defects and things. So we've got a whole pile here of kind of shorter, narrower stuff that we can use for plank ends and whatever as we start building up the planks. And this stack here, we had gone through previously, Alex and I, so I know there's a lot of good stuff in there. So here is a pattern for the stern. So that'll tuck into the Rabbit. That goes around the nib on the Steeler. So we can get that here, and here's the pattern for the stem. And then the rest of it midship is a pretty narrow plank, and we couldn't edge set the cedar that much, but we can edge set the oak that much. Aaron and I are gonna cut it out here where it lays, and then take the smaller sections and go run them through the thicknesser, and then go from there, because this slab is hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and we stacked and organized all this lumber before we owned a backhoe, so we didn't really plan on picking it up and moving it around. And with how soft the ground is, the backhoe just tears things up right now anyways. So we'll make it smaller and carry it over there and keep digging through and find the other 2 pieces we need, but I think I know where they are. Well, I think it took us less time to find suitable stock for these in the oak pile than it took for us to find them in the cedar pile. So we've got, out of 2 boards here, we've got the stem and the stern ends of both of the Steeler planks. And it is beautiful quarter sawn white oak with virtually no defects. I don't know why we just didn't do this earlier. I was really concerned about the weight, and I really should have just crunched those numbers and figured out what that actually looks like. But I'm really happy with what we found, and I think we're still on track to hopefully get one of these glued up by the end of the today. We don't think we have enough glue boxes to do both. Actually, I know we don't have enough glue boxes to do both. So I think as long as we can get one in the boxes today, then we can finish up the other one tomorrow and switch it out as soon as it's done cooking and get to hanging these things, which, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be so happy to get done with these funny ones and onto some narrower oak and see how it goes. But it's looking like we've got a decent amount of stock. I think we'll have enough to get there, and it's looking so much better than the cedar. So I think it was a good decision, hard decision, but I think a good one. We'll find out. This is kind of fun here. We have some iron sickness in the oak, so there's some sort of metal fastener here that someone put into the tree, and then the tree grew over. And when I was ripping it, I noticed it was throwing black sawdust, and I didn't see this nail. I think I was cutting from the other side. So we're gonna carve this out before we work on this in thickness and plane anything. And as long as we get this iron out and the immediate iron sickness around it, it should be fine. But yeah, kind of neat to see how that reacts, and it's just starting to degrade the wood around the fastener. All right, just lopped off that chunk of iron sick oak there where the fastener was. So look at that, how black it is. Gotta watch out for that stuff, because man, is that murder on the planer blades. All right, these are ready. Aaron's got the thicknesser running. So I'll start shoving these things through. So Aaron and I spent most of yesterday just digging through the pile and getting things sorted and organized and finding the first two kind of funny oaks that we need that end up making up some of the difference in the stem and the stern. So we've got 3 pieces here and 1 piece over here. Today we're gonna get the scarves cut and get them in the glue boxes, and we're in a little bit of a race because we got thunderstorms coming in at lunchtime today. I know it's like cold here. I'm in a jacket and a little chilly this morning, but we got thunderstorms coming in. So we are not going to be able to do glue ups during a thunderstorm, nor are we going to be able to run the big thicknesser or do that kind of thing. And it is too cold for us to do the glue in here and let it cure. So once the glue boxes are set up, we can throw a tarp over the boxes and the plank can get wet. That's fine, it won't hurt it. As long as inside the boxes is nice and dry. So that's the mission for today. And then, I don't know, this afternoon maybe we'll clean shop. Got a few other little projects we can work on. There's not a ton to do until we get these planks glued up and ready to go. And a light rain we can work in, but there's only so much we can do outside in the thunderstorms. And here's that iron sickness from yesterday all cleaned up. And you can see how far that iron sickness travels up the grain. The other side's just as bad. Thankfully, we only need up here for what we're using, so we should be able to totally miss it. But yeah, that's oak and iron do not get along, hence all the bronze fastenings. All right. Aaron and I made some good progress so far this morning. We got these planks, we got the scarves cut and them glued up in the boxes before the rain here comes. And it is cold, it is humid, it is definitely feeling like rain is on its way. So I'm glad that we got these in and the boxes are covered up. Even if it downpours, the planks inside the boxes will stay nice and dry, so no real worries there. But I don't think it makes too much sense to dive into the other oak plank today with the weather and us having to wait for this to kick anyways. But tomorrow morning we can jump right into that and have that pretty much ready to go by the time this one comes out and get those swapped out tomorrow, and we'll be good to go to start cutting and fitting this one. We pulled out this big old chunk of live oak that we got given, and we're going to work on making the Sampson post out of that. Obviously it's not going to be this big, so I'll get it squared and then we can slice it up with the bandsaw a little bit or shove it through the thickness planer. But the first step is going to be getting 2 sides flat and 90 degrees to one another. So this is just kind of a fun project. It's work that's got to get done at some point, and we can just kind of pull it out and put on some tunes and fire up the power planer and feel a little bit accomplished and just do a little bit of Zen woodworking for a little while. It doesn't require much thinking. One flat face. I'm just gonna churn it 90 degrees. This one looks nice. And then we're just gonna square this up to this one. So using the long one to check flatness that way, the squares to flatness that way, and then I'm checking for twist. So I put the squares on, and if you sight down and the tops are level, you know that you're not cocked or twisted. And once I have this side's done, I get this side cleaned up, and then I can run it through the thickness planer, run it through the bandsaw. I gotta kind of play with it and see exactly how small I want to make it, and get it down to its closer finalized dimension. This oak takes a long time to dry and it likes to check, so I'm trying to just slowly bring it down to size and just keep squaring it up every time I take it out. Hopefully when we get down to its final dimension, it won't be very checked, it'll behave. We'll see. Alright, so I made this live oak here into a 4x4. And I think that should suffice. This is Victoria's old Sampson post, and it's a bit bigger. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It's 4. Perfect. Maybe I can reuse that cool cap. But you'll notice Victoria's was incredibly short. So that's what stuck up above the deck, and that's all that was holding it to the boat. So our Sampson post is going to go all the way down and bolt to the bronze floor that's down in the bottom, bolted to the stem. And that way, should you put any real lever on the Sampson post here, it shouldn't go anywhere. So I'm going to pull some rough measurements out from the boat and kind of figure out how long this needs to be and where I want to land and start marking it out. I'm going to give myself some wiggle room so that we have some extra posts sticking up at the top and extra posts sticking down the bottom, and we'll leave a chunk where it's going to go through the deck. So this is where I got to at the Sampson post. It's all marked out and cut out. So up here it's 4x4, and I left plenty of room for up above the deck here. So in theory, that would be the top of the deck. This chunk would be buried in the deck, so it would be part of the decking and the deck beams. Got a little bit of taper zone, and then I brought it down here to an octagon. So that's just shaving a little bit of weight and should make it a little bit nicer inside the hull. And we can compare Victoria's Sampson post here to the new one. So as you can see, we got plenty of length to play with. We can make that whatever length we want. And it's similar size, but it's gonna go all the way down through the deck and attach to the bronze floor. So that should make for a much, much stronger structure. And the grain in this live oak is just insane. Like all these crazy swirls and inclusions. This stuff is so bizarre. But it's incredibly rot resistant, it's incredibly strong, and terribly heavy. So I think it'll make a really great Sampson post. I bet a bunch of you remember this little shipmate stove. Alex and I went out to Cape Cod this past summer, the summer before, oh jeepers, I can't even remember, and picked it up. And we're gonna put this inside Arabella. And I'm gonna light it up. As you can see, it's been getting a little rusty. So I wanna get it nice and hot and get some of that rust to come off it, and then we're gonna eventually wipe it down with some kerosene and light it, and wipe it down with some kerosene and light it again, and that kerosene will bake into the cast iron and really soak in, and will give it a really nice and hard patina. But that is not something we want to do inside the boat. It's gonna smell horrible. So I think it's one of those things we're gonna kind of pull it out from time to time at night when we've got a little bit of energy, and it'll be real easy to put it in and out of the garage with the hand cart. And we can fire it up and wipe it down and work on getting a really good patina on it. So as soon as we get done with the planking and start working on the interior, we can bring it in and find its home. Yeah, slow but sure we'll get there. It's looking a lot better than it did when we pulled it out.
Camera's back on.
Camera's back on.
Sneaky.
Sneaky. Yeah, so we made a little bit of a list. We've got the shipmate stove, dead eyes, the deck cleats out of the Guapinol that Alex brought back from Costa Rica, Sampson post, grab rails. So those are all stuff that we can kind of slowly pick away at while we're working our way through the planking. With a long job like the planking, it's also really nice sometimes just to have something where you have a little bit of success. It's not like days and days to see a plank go fully on the boat, and in just a couple hours you can feel like you got something accomplished, which keeps the morale up a little bit. Every handful of days we've been pulling it out and just giving it a quick wipe down with some kerosene and getting a good hot fire going in it and letting it cool off and putting it back in the garage. And as you can see, it's getting a lot nicer looking than it was. So the only thing I don't like about the stove so far is when you first light it, you get some smoke out of the rings there. We might at some point just machine 1 or 2 rings that go in there that don't have so many leaks and maybe fit a little bit tighter. And the chimney is also probably a little oversized, so drop that down a little bit, that would make a difference too. Tell ya, it always feels like it's something. Check this out. So this has been one of the more useful GoPro mounts we have, and this aluminum body, after being tightened, you know, down and loosened so many times, it just stripped out, the threads are gone. So we're gonna see if we can do a little modification to this and make it usable and get back to work, because it's gonna be kind of rough trying to film with just one of these things. And this mount has been pretty good. Certainly not the prettiest work I've ever done, but cut the base off the old one and drilled some holes, bolted it to the C-clamp, and now we're back in business. So cheap and quick and easy fix. And on a plus side is I finally have something that will clamp onto a 4-inch beam to attach the GoPros to, because the bases were too small for that, and all the vertical posts in here are all 4x4s. So we've been kind of limited a little bit. So this will free that up. It's kind of a monstrosity, but it'll work. And I don't think I'm gonna break this clamp. Well, we'll see. Yesterday I went for a little bit of a ride in the canoe and explored some local brooks. It was a really nice day out there, just soaking up the sun, scaring the ducks, doing a little fishing, just a bunch of exploring. There's absolutely no boat building. We're not even gonna go near the boat. If you're one of those folks that really enjoyed that short little ride down the brook that we tagged at the end of the video a couple of videos ago, maybe you'll like this. Grab a beer, grab your tea, whatever, sit down, and let's go on a little canoe ride.